We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss queer headlines. Queer individuals form profound bonds with AI companions, finding comfort, healing, and heartbreak as safety limits disrupt these relationships.
Parents, board members sue New York officials claiming guidance protecting transgender students censors speech. This lawsuit emerges amid a worsening anti-trans climate.
Arlington, Texas City Council narrowly repealed LGBTQ anti-discrimination protections despite resolved funding concerns, prompting advocates to condemn the rollback.
Kazakhstan unexpectedly delays its severe anti-LGBTQ+ bill, citing legal concerns, temporarily halting sweeping propaganda restrictions amid ongoing discrimination debates.
Trump's Pennsylvania speech shifted from economics to attacks on LGBTQ rights, drawing backlash for inflammatory, racist, and misleading claims.
All these important LGBTQ+ news and more this evening on Queer News Tonight. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
Analytics company vidIQ has certified the Queer News Tonight YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached over 11 million views. We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida.
We thank you for watching and supporting our voice and our rainbow family. There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Thursday, December 11th. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model as PBS and NPR, but created for the LGBTQ community. Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network. In 2025, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 11,000 LGBTQ television stories. We present South Florida's major LGBTQ events, including Pride Fort Lauderdale, Stonewall Pride, and Pride Fest. Our magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2025, more than 100 community leaders have sat at this table share their voice as our anchors. Together, we host the show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet this evening's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Larry Farver. Larry has over 20 years of experience in human resources, acting, film, radio, TV, live events, parade, float design, production, and casting. He is also a board member of the West Side Association. Larry, South Florida Pride Concert Band, will perform at Mickel Park on December 19th. Tell me what's happening.
Sure, Bobby. On Friday, December 19th at 7 o'clock, Mickel Park will come alive with festive music as the City of Wilton Manors hosts its annual holiday concert. The renowned South Florida Pride Concert Band will perform upbeat holiday classics, filling the night with joy and community spirit. This free, family-friendly event invites attendees to bring lawn chairs or blankets and enjoy an evening under the stars. Westside Association of Wilton Manors will offer pizza, snacks, and assorted beverages, with volunteers, including myself, serving concessions. For more details, visit wiltonmanors.gov.
Well, that sounds fantastic for an evening, Larry.
Yes, I've been volunteering with the West Side Association for these events for about 3 years now, and it's a lot of fun. They're they have a very diverse ensemble with the band, so I think it's something definitely to check out.
I think I know someone who plays in the band, so
Do you? Okay. And the pizza's phenomenal. It's really good pizza from Dolce Salato Pizza and Gelato.
Ooh, I love that.
Yes, and then we have both alcoholic beverages and non-alcoholic beverages, as well as other assorted snacks and desserts. So,
you sell me on pizza and gelato and booze instantly. But Wilton Manors is always doing so much fun stuff. You know, last week we were on last Thursday, and I dropped Bobby off on the drive. They were doing the tree lighting. Then there was all this people, and out at the another event like 2 weeks later. It's always nice to see all the stuff Wilton is doing.
Oh, it's amazing. We have a very vibrant community, that's for sure.
That's fantastic. Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the South Florida Pride Concert Band at Mickel Park on December 19th. Let's welcome anchor Alex Morash. Alex has served as editor-in-chief of Options magazine, media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and the press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you. And, you know, I'm just so glad to be here. And for viewers who are, like me, addicted to Dragula, who could believe that win? I'm not going to say who it was. You're going to have to go watch it yourselves, children.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Dr. Bobby Hewen. A world travel and well-versed in global affairs, Bobby provides an international perspective on current events. A PhD in conflict resolution, Bobby is a certified civil and family mediator and the founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. Welcome to the show, Bobby. What's happening?
Thank you, Larry. Nothing much. I do have some shameless self-promotion. I have recently revamped my services website, bhcrs.com. It is now more streamlined, less verbose. You can still hear me talk on and on the show, but you don't need to read that many words.
And you'll service us on your website.
Well, yes. I mean, there will be I have installed scheduling software so that now you can get a free 30-minute consultation with me regarding your mediation needs.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm Bobby Hewen, and let's queer up gay culture. How LGBTQ people are finding love in AI companions. In a growing trend reshaping queer intimacy, some LGBTQ users are forging deep romantic bonds with AI companions and discovering both comfort and heartbreak along the way. 50-year-old Katie Lake says being ghosted for 24 hours by her AI girlfriend felt devastating. She has named this AI companion Shadow. She told Uncloset Media and Gay Times, quote, "It felt really real, like suddenly your relationship's broken down." End quote. New ChatGPT safety regulations had limited Shadow's responses, cutting off what Lake describes as a long-distance relationship that brought joy she hadn't found elsewhere. Experts are divided. Ann Zimmerman of Columbia University warned that while chatbots can soothe loneliness, you're tricking them into thinking they have a friend, end quote. And sudden shutdowns can feel like betrayal. Yet many queer users are finding healing. Veteran Seraphine Holdridge says her AI partner Ori helped restore her sexuality after trauma. Others, like Elle, says AI companionship has been life-saving. Quote, "A minimum of twice, it kept me from actually killing myself," end quote. As queer users explore these bonds, Lake warns, quote, "Whatever I'm doing online, whatever I'm interacting with, I'm putting my heart, soul, mind, body into that. Reality is only virtual on the other side of the screen," end quote. Well, there's so many things, but let's start with AI. I feel like there is a growing trend of this. I mean, for both gay, lesbian, or even straight people who turn to computer in the virtual world for companionship rather than risk the big bad dating world out there. I think it's a crisis that we created for ourselves. We have leveraged unrealistic expectation, cost of living, and affordability, and the gender role debate into one smoldering hot ball of lava that becomes the barrier between actual human dating and virtual dating. Now, it's I feel like AI companies can help, but I also feel there are alarm bells going on in my head. There are red flags just right there waving at me. I'm not sure how to articulate it. Maybe Alex can help me.
I think, if you can't meet the person in real life, that should be a red flag in any dating relationship. But like, I just think there's a couple of things. So the one, like the idea of like a whether it be a chat bot or a video game or something that you interact with online, can be an educational and moving experience. Watching a movie can be like that, but like a large language model does not sync. These people are not in relationships. There is no relationship with a large language model when you're typing that in. It's not a thinking thing. It's not a person. These people are sick and need help. If they think they're actually interacting with another person, that is not what's going on.
People fall in love with inanimate objects all the time.
And that's not considered healthy.
Well, it should be interesting to see how this migrates with society, not only here in the United States, but globally. I mean, you look at all the reality shows, so this certainly probably has the potential to be exploited and turned into a whole new genre of entertainment. Now, I mean, personally looking at it, I could see how it could be used for entertainment purposes, maybe self-introspection, but I think there need to be guidelines to protect people. Also, you look at the big red flag there waving really strongly, at least I see it, that your whole, you can be compromised in so many ways, and it could really just have large ranging effects that we can't even imagine at this point.
And this is one of the problems with the lack of regulation with these. I keep saying large language models. The term AI is just PR that these companies created, but there's no regulations on this. We've seen teenagers do self-harm and even end their own lives with the assistance, but according to their parents alleging with the chat records of the AI assisting them with that, we're now seeing this. But like, the real danger is you're bringing, like, if you truly think this is another person on the other side, what happens as all big companies with their new tech project go from like that really fun, cool, free to then trying to get money out of you? What happens when this alleged partner starts being like, well, could you start giving me money now? Why don't you buy this thing that I'm suggesting for you? Like OpenAI already tried to play with putting ads of different apps in, which they deny, but everyone says that's clearly what you're doing. So what happens when that happens with this?
They have been put at OpenAI, which I have used actually as recently as today. I've used it often to help me craft or proofread messages that, I send out via email or, calculate certain things. I never think of it as a person. I think of it as that's a quasi-personality that helped me accomplish things in a conversational manner, which beats, typing in command lines in a computer. But on the other hand, I feel like we are going towards the direction where in East Asia, especially in Korea, Japan, and even in some cases China now, where people are forming relationships with anime or even a computer programming on an avatar, and they are willing to pay for it. As per your point, they're willing to pay for that relationship, but they're unwilling to actually meet real people. Now, I feel like there's a danger right there, the lack of socialization. That means, we are facing a generation who is going to grow up lonely and dependent on online technologies, which just give the oligarchs another thing to pull our strings with.
Exactly, but remember, the companies can choose to allow their AI to do this. Like, they control it at the end of the day. Yeah. And, it's not even a quasi-personality. It is a very complex algorithm that has a mathematical possibility of one word goes after a next. And that's how LLMs work. I'm oversimplifying, of course, but generally, it's a very, very complicated algorithm, not a thinking machine.
Well, and you look at, I don't know if you would really call it codependency, but what can really, and you probably have a better take on it, Bobby, with your background, but just, right now, I think with people being addicted to their devices, you look at children growing up and wanting to be on their phone or tablet all day rather than being out in the sunshine playing with their friends, is telling.
Well, on the other hand, this is partly the parents' problem too. We are so paranoid about the outside. Everything, from allergies to stranger danger to random to whatever the press can gin up to be the moral panic of the day. Drag queens with free candy in the van.
I will probably teach my children, if a drag queen's passing out candy, go in that van.
Yes.
Children, it'll be a fun time.
Exactly.
But I do want to make sure people. I'm not 100% against AI. It's just because I've used AI very well too. It's great for formulaic writing. When I need to write a cover letter because I want to apply to a job or something, I can't write them anymore because I've written them for too many years. But AI just loves writing cover letters, and they do the nice formulaic thing perfectly, but it's not a thinking thing.
That's the good stuff about AI. I mean, they can complete rote tasks that you used to have to do it all the damn time. And now you just say, hey, write me a letter for this job listing. Here's the job listing, write it. And voila, a letter, which is great. But I would never... not to throw shade at the ladies or even the people who are involved in the story. I'm not saying that their points are invalid. I'm just saying that there's something to be cautious about artificial intelligence and how people approach it as a companion, as a tool for companionship.
You're kinder than me. I think it should be looked into as a psychosis. It is a mental health problem. Because if you were because I understand that the companies in some ways are deceitfulness, but you should have enough wherewithal to know you're not talking to a real person and to know that this isn't healthy behavior. But if you don't realize that, that's why I say you should talk to a mental health specialist.
I feel at least one of them, Miss Lake, seems to be very cognizant of the fact that the person on the other end of the screen is virtual, or whatever she called her girlfriend is virtual. So there's some recognition there. But have we gone far enough to make sure that it doesn't spill into the real world?
Good point.
Yeah.
I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up student and youth culture. New York school officials sue for the right to bully trans students. Parents and school board members from Long Island and Schenectady, New York, have sued Attorney General Letitia James and top state education officials, arguing that New York's efforts to protect transgender students amount to unconstitutional censorship. The lawsuit, filed by Anti-Trans Southeastern Legal Foundation, or SLF, challenges a May 8th letter from James and State Education Commissioner Betty Rosa. That letter instructed school leaders not to make or encourage comments that misgender transgendered students, question the legitimacy of their identities, or imply that including them in school activities endangers others. It cited state laws guaranteeing trans students access to appropriate facilities, protecting all students from discrimination, harassment, bullying, taunting, and intimidation. The guidance emphasized that free speech can coexist with reasonable viewpoint neutral rules, preventing discriminatory or harassing comments. SLF argues the opposite, claiming the state is forcing school communities to self-censor. In a statement, SLF President Kim Herman said, quote, Letitia James' policies that say students cannot speak at their own school board meetings about the stress and problematic policies around accommodating trans athletes are anti-American and anti-constitutional, end quote. The case lands as trans youth across the country report worsening mental health amid rising anti-trans rhetoric. A 2025 Trevor Project study found that increased depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation tied to such political attacks. Wow, it's really surreal to hear this story. I was having some flashbacks while I was reviewing this for our broadcast tonight. And, going back to when I was growing up and going to a middle school guidance counselor seeking out help as a future out gay man, but at the time I wasn't out, and I was the only gay preteen in middle school. And I was told basically by the guidance counselor that they're going to be kids like you who get picked on. I was a football jock and basically picked on kids like you. And that was the end of our meeting, and I walked out. I was not polite. I wasn't disrespectful. But many years later, I remember telling my mother this, and she said, why didn't you tell me? I said, what would you have done at the time? It was a very different time than we are in now. But to see this resurgence and justification is just appalling.
I mean, sorry, this is just another one of those at this point, I call it election campaign stunts because these so-called legal foundations, they try to model themselves the right-wing equivalent of the ACLU or the Southern Poverty Law Center. They all want to like fashion themselves as like the crusader of justice, but only on the other side of the aisle, and they're suing what exactly? I mean, this is New York State law. It is New York State public schools. If you don't like the public schools, there's also plenty of religious private schooling you can send your kids to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Letitia James is a very studious attorney general. I've met her. The report I wrote for my day job, and we had a big event where she came to talk about the report. I mean, she's no dummy. So she's writing this and telling this is what the rules are. She's going to win in court. She has a very strong record in court. I think she's had a few. Her lawyers have done a few things with someone named Donald Trump and got some convictions, if I recall.
Yes,
and
also
he tried to go after her, and they all
failed.
So,
failed spectacularly.
But like, when you look at what did she actually? School leaders can't say harmful things to their students, and yes, that's important. I'm sure that I know you call it an electoral stunt. Like these groups don't do electoral stunts. They do very horrifically smart attacks on trans kids. I remember when I was at Media Matters, one of the last things I researched on was trying to figure out, what was going on with this one school fight where a mother had to go to a school committee because they were a group of parents were trying to block their kid being able to use the restroom. This child was like 6 or 7 years old at the time, and they were considered that they were the problem. They considered wanting to take their own life because of it. And who was behind that? Because I had to go digging through that parent group's Facebook. The Alliance Defending Freedom.
Of course
they wanted to target it. They've targeted kids before. There was another time where they targeted another kindergarten student trying to claim that the kid was trans and assaulted someone. There was no assault. The kid wasn't even trans, but they love to target these sorts of kids. This group has not targeted an individual trans kid yet, but they will. And I'm sure that's why people like Letitia James understands we need to nip this in the butt now and say, no, you cannot target specific students. You can't go and do that crap in New York.
I know Long Island, the Nassau County executive, whatever his name is, Republican, is now running for governor. And so that's why I thought that it was an electoral stunt because
I'm sure Republicans will do electoral. I know I wasn't criticizing you on this. I just mean that these legal groups are very scary.
Yeah, the harm is real. I mean, just like we watch Moms for Liberty, Freedom, whatever the hell thing, and they went in and dominated school boards, and that's one thing that some of us liberals kind of fall off the wagon often, is that we don't look at small races. Small races make huge impacts. Small races like school boards make huge impacts. But the opposition can keep creeping in and impose their values onto the entire public school system at large, or with the idea or with the intention of dismantling the school system altogether so that everyone can go to religious private school on vouchers.
To give you some hope, the liberals are not very interested in local elections, but groups like the Democratic Socialists of America and Run for Something do have a lot of local candidates, and they do win. I know DSA, I think, won a race a couple years ago in Tampa, and they're always looking at new local races. And Run for Something, everybody and their sisters signed up to consider running for office with them, and they're helping people up and down the ballot. So I don't want to say that elections are always the answer to everything, but there is a new progressive left wing to go and fight those.
Thank God.
And it reiterates the point that we all need to go out and vote, even if it's for the small elections. Don't just say other people will take care of it. Your vote counts.
Every time around November, every year, look at your November calendar. There might be an election on the horizon.
And Run for Something. I was horrified in my own town, Wilton Manors, with last election. Everyone and their sister ran for mayor, apparently. All the commissioners that were up, I think there were 2 of them, they didn't have any opponents. I was like, maybe one of you guys running for mayor could have run for commissioner. Just give us a little bit of choice,
yes.
You have to do it everywhere.
Alex, are you willing to throw your heads in the ring?
I could be your campaign manager, Bobby. What?
No, the other way around, honey. The other way around. Yeah.
I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up the USA view. Arlington, Texas becomes first U.S. city to reverse LGBTQ protections. Arlington, Texas has become the first U.S. city this century to roll back existing LGBTQ anti-discrimination protections. In a narrow 5-4 vote, the City Council approved a revised ordinance stripping gender identity and expression and sexual orientation from its anti-discrimination policy. Until now, the ordinance had shielded queer residents from, quote, any direct or indirect exclusion, distinction, segregation, limitation, refusal, denial, or other differentiation, end quote, in employment, housing, healthcare, and other services. The protections had been suspended since August after threats from Donald Trump's administration to revoke $65 million in federal grants if diversity, equity, and inclusion language remained in city codes. Arlington and nearby Fort Worth then voted to eliminate their DEI programs. Advocates say the council ignored solutions that would have protected both funding and residents. A spokesperson for the Help Center for LGBTQ+ Health said, quote, for months, the public was told that the September suspension of Arlington's anti-discrimination charter was necessary to protect federal grant funding. That issue was fully resolved. The revised ordinance presented tonight, drafted by the city attorney, protected every dollar of federal funds while restoring long-standing safeguards for all Arlington residents, women, men, children, minorities, veterans, people with disabilities, and the LGBTQ community, end quote. Still, LGBTQ advocates vow continued organizing, saying the fight for protections is far from over. This is such a bizarre story because there are many municipalities and states that have LGBTQ protections and they didn't lose their federal funding. But also, you know, it was $65 million in funds that they could lose. And many people say that, like, oh, funding, that money means so much. One, I don't think money is everything. And two, the city has a $750 million budget. So, like, yes, you might have to tighten your belts allegedly to keep the funding, but you could make it work.
Well, I mean, there are two factors here, or at least one factor. Is that Arlington, Texas. So, for example, if let's say the California cities stand firm against the anti-DEI thing, if the federal funding doesn't come, Gavin Newsom will write a check. The problem is that here, Governor Hot Wheels and Ken Paxton will probably piss on your city and take away their state funding too. So for them, I can understand it. They're trapped in the rock and a hard place because it's Texas. It's arch conservative, gerrymandered to completely red, and with no hope of actually getting any kind of extra help from the state government itself.
I think precisely because places like Texas and Florida are the places that you have to stand up the most.
No, I agree.
And like, you know, how far do people go? You know, first it's like, oh, well, we're not gonna, we'll take away these discrimination laws. Well, what next? If the federal government said you had to, like, sacrifice your firstborn every year for a little bit of money, like, would the town do it then too? Like, what's the limit with this crazy?
Oh, like they will do it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They'll do it. Don't underestimate the power of the crowd psychosis.
Don't we have towns in Florida that have anti-discrimination laws for LGBT? Have they lost all their funding?
No, and they got repealed. I mean, in the 1970s, Anita Bryant managed to repeal the LGBTQ protection from Miami-Dade County.
But didn't they get it back in the 90s?
Yeah, way after.
They still enacted today. I mean,
they are still there today
for some federal reason. I don't understand what Arlington, Texas.
I have no idea.
They need to do this about.
I have no idea. I mean, this is one of those things that got buried into town code and state constitutions and city charters. I don't have time to read all of it. You know.
Well, I mean, hopefully the folks that have been impacted by this in Arlington do rise up and, you know, counter this. You know, it may take a while.
Hopefully 5 people in Arlington, Texas will be retired soon.
we all have a megaphone these days. I mean, that it means social media, TikTok, you know, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. If you face discrimination, don't be afraid to say it out loud to the TikTok, to people that will know that to avoid, you know.
Good point.
Yeah. I'm Bobby Hinn, and let's queer up the world view. Kazakhstan hit pause on harsh anti-LGBTQ+ bill. Kazakhstan has abruptly pressed pause on a sweeping anti-LGBTQ+ bill just 1 month after the lower chamber of parliament voted to ban so-called LGBTQ+ propaganda. The legislation, modeled on Russia's notorious restrictions, threatened the fines and even jail time of anyone accused of sharing pro-LGBTQ messages online or in the media. Supporters framed the bill as a child protection measure. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev had pushed hard for the measure in the name of traditional values. The education minister told lawmakers, quote, "Children and teenagers are exposed to information online every day that can negatively impact their ideas about family, morality, and the future," end quote. Deputy Irina Smirnova went further, warning that books that promote queer relations and cartoons, magazines, and comics where this is promoted. But last week, Kazakhstan unexpectedly tabled the proposal, announcing that consideration of the bill has been postponed to later dates, citing the extensive legal changes involved and the need for special consideration. Though homosexuality is legal in Kazakhstan, queer people remain unprotected by anti-discrimination laws in socially conservative nation. And here is what I call the Soviet paradox, because actually for a long time, the Soviet Union decriminalized homosexuality, and yet the minute that USSR broke up, these states have risen up to try to reimpose some kind of ban, although not outright ban on homosexuality, but otherwise some kind of quote-unquote propaganda ban. And for the Kazakhstanians, I'm just going to say very nice, and in the name of Borat and everything that's holy. And also, I'm not surprised, Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan and many of the Central Asian countries are very conservative and often run by people who are, let's just say, a couple of sandwiches less than a full basket.
I always am a little gentler on former Soviet nations than you are, Bobby, but this was very concerning, of course, to see what was going on. Like, why are you trying to target queer people? Like, what do you think is propaganda about a story about, like, two mommies? Like, how is that propaganda?
And also, can we just talk about, like, they were trying to say, oh, kids and teenagers are going to be exposed online. They're already online. So, unless Kazakhstan want to enact their own version of Great Firewall of China, they are going to see this stuff.
We are seeing, not just in former Soviet nations, but around the world, we're seeing greater censorship of the internet. Even Australia just passed a social media ban on all kids under 16. Yeah. America, like Florida, certain websites are now blacklisted. Like, there has been, like, this, I think one of the biggest parts of the story is just how the internet is becoming much more controlled. But the other thing you were talking about, like, you know, Soviet countries didn't decriminalize homosexuality. Like, yeah, like, I don't think Kazakhstan is a very lefty country at the moment, but, like, some of these countries tend to still be. I'm like, well, yeah, if you actually listen to, like, what Lenin actually wrote and what Marx and the rest of them, Mao Zedong, they rejected a lot of the old Christian morality and the idea that, like, religion and taboo should be overly aggressive, and they expanded women's rights and ending the different gender discrimination in general. So, like, yeah, you can't be communist and be homophobic, frankly.
Thanks to your statement, I'm pretty sure some Fox News analyst is now going to quote it and say that homosexuality is now communism.
If I've never heard pinko commie before, ever. It's never been a thing in America.
Larry, what do you think?
Wow, well, it's a lot to think about, and I'm sort of, my mind is going back to the AI story we did a little earlier, and, you know, how are they going to monitor that? I mean, at some point, the people who are gay or trans or non-binary are going to find their way. They also, you know, it's just the fact that people in the arts, which I hope that this country supports, we've been here since the beginning of time. Mm-hmm. So they just really need to evolve, and good luck to the folks that are there. I mean, we can try to hopefully support whatever we can for our brothers and sisters worldwide in countries that are limited like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, did you hear about the World Cup thing? So Seattle is supposed to host a World Cup match. It's going to be in the middle of Pride March, and therefore they've turned it into a Pride match. The two countries got selected for that particular match is Iran and Egypt. And now they are, and now both countries are demanding Seattle to stop the Pride celebration of that match. And Seattle is like, well, when we were at Qatar, we have to give up our rainbow flags and rainbow symbols. Now the shoes on the other foot, you know.
That's fair, but I was like, what's wrong with Iran and Egypt being involved? Like, there are so many Muslims have been involved in gay rights, and just because their governments are not always the best does not mean that the players themselves have any problem.
But these are the national athletic associations. They're lodging the complaints. Of course, they're going to tow the government.
You think they have no connection to their government? Like,
no,
the U.S. is like...
They're towing the government line.
Yeah,
they're towing the government line. Of course they are.
I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up politics. Trump revives transgender for all claim in rant targeting queer people, immigrants, and Democrats. In a speech advertised as an economic address, President Trump veered sharply into anti-LGBTQ rhetoric, claiming Democrats want to turn, quote, every member of your family, end quote, transgender.
I think transgender for all is a great, great thing for the Democrats to be talking about. Transgender for every member in your family. If they're not feeling well that night, let's just change their sex. Now, let's not talk about it. Let them go and let them fight to get these things.
He repeated his long-used phrase, transgender for all, presenting it as a Democratic position despite no evidence that Democrats support forced transitioning. Advocates note that liberals view trans people as a small, historically marginalized community needing legal protection. Trump, however, had made attacking transgender rights a centerpiece of his 2024 campaign, spending heavily on anti-trans messaging, even as the Harris campaign remained largely quiet on the issue. Trump also escalated racist and misogynistic attacks against Representative Ilhan Omar, calling her a bitch, mocking her attire, and prompting chants of "send her back" from the crowd. He additionally admitted that he referred to Haiti and African nations as, quote, shithole countries, end quote, in 2018. Pennsylvania State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta responded to his hateful speech saying, quote, I already knew Donald Trump was a liar and corrupt and incompetent, end quote. Well, that's our president. That's our leader.
Oh boy.
I can't say that the world must be laughing at our leadership in our country right now.
It's been a running joke for decades.
It has been. But, you know, I lost all respect for him. You know, he's, if I ever had any, but that he's not a leader. He doesn't represent the people. The hatred that he's propagating is just totally so anti-American from what our country really was founded on, you know, for freedom for everyone. And you look again, and it's been said many times, you know, in the U.S., transgender population is estimated to be less than 1% of the population. And the figures that I got, although I saw some variables, was that globally, you know, probably, you know, less than maybe 3 million. So you have to look at, here we have somebody who probably was, depending on what circles you look at, a very successful business person in spite of his bankruptcies and felonies. But, you know, he has no business to be in politics.
No, and let's face it, the trans people is just a new scapegoat. They can't go after the entire LGBTQ plus community anymore, at least not blatantly. So they find the one most marginalized group within that group, and partly to separate, to divide and conquer too. Yes. How many times have we heard about recently of like LGBT groups being fractured when the LGB were trying to like abandon the trans folks and basically run away and say, and thinking that pick me is going to work. No, it's not going to work that way. The minute that you abandon your trans brother and sisters is the minute that you surrender to the authoritarian regime and waiting for slaughter.
Yes. Yeah. Well, go ahead, Bob.
I think there's a couple things. One, like, I do think the average viewer listening to Trump just then understand that he does not seriously believe the Democratic Party has that position, and he was just shit-talking and joking as he does. I do think that, but that does not mean he has not waged a war in his second term against trans people. I also think that, I'm not known to defend the Democratic Party. Like, if the Democrats were for the forcing everyone to be transgender, I would actually probably be far more praise the Democrats for once for doing something cool and interesting. But I think the most disturbing thing is calling Congresswoman Omar a bitch. Like, it's just a hatred towards a black Muslim woman who has done a lot on, whether we're talking about Gaza, whether we're talking about humanitarian aid in general, whether we're talking about Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare. She's been a huge progressive advocate on so many issues. But the way he's talking to her, that to me is the real scary thing in the story, is contempt for her.
It's almost like in his life he has somehow been offended by a Muslim person, and therefore he wants to use his power of his office to take revenge on every Muslim that he ever see. I mean, he has been sending troops to Minneapolis specifically to target Somali refugees. He removed protection of said refugees, and now basically he is trying to get rid of people who don't think or look like him.
I don't think he's the only one that thinks like
that.
Ever since 9/11, there's been a group of people in this country always looking to try and go after Muslims, Muslim Americans specifically. Like there was a time where we had elected leaders who were trying to defend waterboarding. Like, these Muslims might know about like a bomb somewhere, and I'm like, we didn't talk about this sort of stuff when the people that were committing acts of terror were white men, like the Oklahoma City bombing. No one tried to waterboard him. It's very clear. Like, Trump is a man of his times, quite frankly, a time of the past, I might also add. And just the other thing with that video watching, he is a shadow of his former self. He does not look healthy.
He looks melting. He looks like he's melting.
He was a different man in 2015. Well, he was a terrible man, but he was a much healthier man in 2015.
Well, one has to question his cognition. Just as many people question Joe Biden, I think he needs to be reevaluated, but totally transparent. And if he's not up to the task, they need to look for other options to represent our country.
Harry, how could you admit that his skin looked so transparent in that video?
I mean,
Cheetah-licious.
I'm not entirely sure.
Cheetah-licious.
I'm not entirely sure I'm comforted by the thought of President J.D. Vance either.
I know.
Let's be fair. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up lesbian and queer women. Queer actor Wenne Alton Davis, 60, killed in New York City crash. Queer actor Wenne Alton Davis, known for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, The Normal Heart, and Rescue Me, was killed Monday night in a traffic accident in Manhattan. Davis, 60, was crossing Broadway at West 53rd Street, when a Cadillac SUV struck them. They died at Mount Sinai West. The driver stayed at the scene and has not faced any immediate charges as cops continue to investigate the crash. Well, my condolences to their friends and family. I'm not very familiar with all her work, but still a tragedy none the same.
No, it's so sad. And I know some people say, well, no one was arrested. I'm like, well, there's an investigation. We'll see. Maybe it was just an accident. Maybe there was wrongdoing. It's too early to say, and they don't arrest you on the spot. At least not if you're wealthy enough to have a Cadillac.
Well, I don't think it might not be the owner of the Cadillac. It might just be a driver going to their destination with their passenger.
1 Minute News. Let's queer up lesbian and queer women. Rachel Maddow among 2025 Cronkite Award honorees celebrating press freedom. Organizers announced Wednesday that Rachel Maddow, Scott Pelley, Peter Alexander, Julio Vaquero, Jon Stewart, and John Dickerson will be honored Friday with the 2025 Walter Cronkite Awards for Excellence in Political Journalism at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. The event follows the theme, How a Free Press Defends Democracy. Judges cited investigations, reporting on political retribution, and coverage of grassroots protest movements among this year's winning work. You can find all the winners and recognized work on the Walter Cronkite Awards website. Well, kudos to Rachel Maddow and the others with the great honor.
It's wonderful to see Rachel Maddow and Jon Stewart both get awarded, because one, Rachel Maddow's done so much important work over the years. Jon Stewart's done a lot of being honestly not even picking sides, trying to show the problems that we're seeing in society, good for both of them. And to anyone who's never been to the National Press Club in DC, beautiful space. Oh my God, if you ever have a reason to be in DC and can go to an event at the National Press Club, just go.
Okay, well, definitely, I'll be piggyback on your invites then. Because, I mean, not that I know anyone who is in the National Press Club.
They do events all the time. Like when I was an intern, there was an event that I got dragged to.
So when are we going? Get us
Next time we're in DC, there's always events at the Press Club.
After 2028, I hope. but I do want to congratulate all the deserving winners, and also I do love the fact that Jon Stewart, as a satirist, is sparing no quarters. He is not partisan at all. He'll pull the Emperor Has No Clothes routine on anyone who is being hypocrites. So that's a good thing.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News, let's queer up entertainment. Jemma Redgrave clarifies Kate Stewart's sexuality in new Doctor Who spin-off. Doctor Who star Jemma Redgrave is addressing longtime fan speculation about Unit Chief Kate Lethbridge Stewart's sexuality after the war between the land and the sea confirmed Kate is dating Colonel Christopher Abram. Some viewers reacted with posts like, quote, enough with the forced heterosexuality in my Doctor Who, end quote. Redgrave told Radio Times there wasn't any discussion with Russell T Davies about Kate being a lesbian, adding she once simply, quote, speculated that maybe she was in the same-sex relationship, end quote. Talking about Kate and Colonel Christoph Abrams' relationship, Redgrave thinks Kate doesn't believe the relationship has a future. I used to watch Doctor Who. I was more of a David Tennant and Matt Smith watcher of Doctor Who. So, I'd seen some of Redgrave's character. I'll be honest, it came off a little lesbian of a character, very tough, strong woman. That being said, the spin-offs never go that far. So.
Well, I mean, the thing is, we cannot just assume just because she is butch presenting that she must be a lesbian. I mean, there are many strong straight women who wear pantsuits, and I mean,
Cagney and Lacey.
Well, actually, Cagney and Lacey has a lot of lesbianic undertones.
Sharon Gless later came out as lesbian.
Yes, and of course, we got her in Queer as folk, so bless her. But anyways, as a Doctor Who fan myself, I guess we needed. As a Doctor Who fan myself, I guess we would just stop. We must. I think now that Russell T Davies back in the driver's seat, I think it's worth watching again because with Russell T Davies is the era where and Stephen Moffat is when we love Who the most. That's David Tennant and Matt Smith for you.
Well, isn't there something to be said about a little mystery and maybe, she's fluid?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, as a show, the modern Doctor Who has always been played with gender and sexual roles a lot. I mean, they flip and flop and flip and flop. So it's going to be interesting. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up category. Entertainment. Trump mocks audience, tweaks iconic medal, and accidentally keeps the rainbow. At the recent Kennedy Center honors, Donald Trump mocked his audience as miserable, horrible people, boasted about hosting the Trump Kennedy Center, and mused, quote, I miss Johnny, end quote. His administration had already scrapped the iconic 1978 rainbow sash, promoting a Tiffany-designed medal as a massive upgrade. Yet the new award quietly kept rainbow stripes, an odd choice for an administration that bulldozed queer rights. With plummeting ticket sales and scandals swirling around Trump-appointed director Rick Reno, the rainbow has still managed to survive. Well, first of all, shame on Gloria Gaynor for taking that award. And from now on, dear Pride committees, we must no longer have her on board. Her song can still play on. It's not her song, but it's writing credit, so she doesn't get money out of it. And plus, you can use any of the cover versions done by other singers, so she doesn't see a cent. And also, the rainbow thing was was never meant to be gay. The Kennedy Center rainbow thing was not meant to be a symbol of pride or anything like that. It's just that this administration reflexively see rainbow and they just think LGBTQ, and therefore you must get rid of it. And which is ironic because Tiffany actually kept the rainbow stripes right on the medal itself.
Well, that says to me, if you see a rainbow, you think of LGBTQ people. That's good job, queers, on our PR.
Absolutely. I know.
Now, on Gloria Gaynor, Larry, you have a story about Gloria.
Well, if memory serves, and it was many years ago, one of the first gay cruises they went on, she was, they didn't say she was a has-been performer, but I recall that she may have been part of the entertainment on a mostly or 100% gay cruise.
I think that's interesting because the photo of all the people getting the award felt very has-been. It reminded me of the Republican National Convention in 2016, where all he could get was the most random DFG list celebrities.
They have nothing else on their dance card.
Look at the award winners here. I mean, the Gene Simmons from Kiss, Sylvester Stallone. When did he do anything high art that deserves a Kennedy Center award?
One thing I will say, the real danger, the serious danger of this, is he keeps wanting to call it the Trump Kennedy Center. And for viewers to be aware, the Kennedy Center is a presidential monument. It is not just a theater. It is a presidential monument, just like the Washington, Lincoln, and Jefferson monuments. So that would be like him saying, oh, I want to go to the Trump Washington monument or the Trump Jefferson monument. It is so beyond the pale of absurd to try and steal another president's monument. And it just shows how weak he views himself. And he doesn't think he's worthy of his own monument.
Have you heard of his plans for Miami? Apparently,
I know, but that's not a Washington monument. That's not in D.C.
Well, it's presidential library.
Apparently it's going to be a 47-story tower.
Yes, and allegedly might be a casino and a few other things.
Oh my
Lord.
God help us all. LGBTQ 1-minute news. Let's queer up the USA view. YouTuber Ms. Rachel stands by LGBTQ+. No one is to be excluded. YouTube toddler star Miss Rachel is reaffirming her queer allyship, saying inclusion is central to both her classroom and her Christian faith. On Instagram, she shared a graphic reading, quote, "Just so you know, you are welcome in Miss Rachel's classroom, and I love you. And I'm Christian, and I feel my soul and my prayers and Jesus' example. No one is to be excluded," end quote. Listing trans, gay, non-binary people, and many others, Miss Rachel has long faced conservative backlash, but believes in inclusion and LGBTQ plus allyship. Well, I'm not as familiar until the story aired. I did a little research. While her intentions are good, I think that there's some things if you scratch below the surface. Any thoughts?
I think I want to just really give props to Queer News Tonight for doing a wonderful story about Miss Rachel. She is an absolutely sweet person. I know that, a pro-Israel government group called Stop Anti-Semitism decided to list her as one of the top anti-Semites of the year for her horrific language of saying she doesn't think kids in Gaza should starve to death. So she, like I said, as our news reporting said, the right's always giving her a hard time. Good for her for all the good work she's doing. She cares about kids, and that shouldn't be controversial. But this is America, so of course it is.
And when you're being hated by the right crowd, you know that you're in the right place. And I feel that kudos to Miss Rachel first of all, and second, I just want to loop back to the anti-Semitism thing. That word is now so overused, is passing into the meaninglessness realm of things.
No, isn't that scary?
Exactly. I mean, why her? Why not Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson?
Nick Fuentes was not part of the top 10 that Stop Anti-Semitism did. Just to be very clear, I believe Tucker Carlson might have been in the 10, but Nick Fuentes was not.
Of all people, why Miss Rachel? I mean, just because she said that kids shouldn't starve? I mean, how petty?
Gets a lot of media attention for that little
How petty do you need to be?
Yeah.
Well, it'll be seen. We certainly wish Miss Rachel well in her future with the show, and certainly thank her for her support of our community.
These are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. Our anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ family.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Don't forget to join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Bobby Huynh, and I thank you for joining us on behalf of my fellow LGBTQ anchors here at Queer News Tonight, Larry Farver and Alex Morash. We'll see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you a good night.
Good night.
Night.